The winter wind howled through the iron gates of the castle, carrying with it a loneliness so deep it seemed to cling to the stones themselves. Long ago, before fear and rumor poisoned the forest paths, this castle had been a place of music, laughter, and golden light. The prince who lived there had everything the world could offer: wealth beyond measure, beauty admired by all, and power inherited without effort. Yet his heart was harder than the marble floors beneath his feet. He believed kindness was weakness and compassion a currency meant only for the poor. He trusted mirrors more than people and applause more than truth, never imagining that a single night would unravel his life and expose a secret darker than the shadows that now filled his halls. On a storm-lashed evening, when thunder cracked the sky like a judgment, an old woman appeared at the castle gates. She was cloaked in rags, her back bent by age, her hands trembling as she held up a single red rose. She asked only for shelter from the cold, offering the flower in return. The prince laughed at her, repulsed by her appearance and offended by the idea that such a creature dared to approach him. He mocked her poverty and ordered her away, deaf to her pleas and blind to the desperation in her eyes. When she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, his cruelty only deepened, and he threatened to have her thrown into the storm. The air shifted, heavy and electric, and before the prince could turn away, the old woman straightened. Her rags fell like smoke, revealing a woman radiant with power and fury. She was an enchantress, ancient and merciless in her justice. She told the prince that his heart was emptier than his halls and colder than the winter outside. For his arrogance and lack of compassion, she would curse him, transforming his outward beauty into a reflection of his inner soul. As she raised her hand, magic surged through the room, shattering mirrors and extinguishing every candle in the castle. When the light returned, the prince screamed. His body had twisted into something monstrous, his face elongated, his hands clawed, his voice reduced to a growl that echoed with despair. The enchantress spared him only a sliver of hope. She left behind the rose he had mocked, now enchanted, its petals destined to fall one by one until his 21st year ended. If he could learn to love another and earn their love in return before the last petal fell, the curse would be broken. If not, he would remain a beast forever, forgotten by the world. With that, she vanished, leaving the castle trapped in eternal twilight. The curse did not stop with the prince. Servants, courtiers, and guards were transformed into objects that reflected their roles: candlesticks, clocks, teapots, wardrobes, bound to the castle and to their master's fate. At first, the prince raged, tearing through halls and gardens, smashing statues and roaring at the sky. He blamed the world, the enchantress, and fate itself, never once considering that the curse had grown from his own cruelty. Over time, rage gave way to despair. He hid from mirrors, from windows, from any reminder of what he had become. The castle fell silent, dust gathering like snow, as years passed and hope withered. Beyond the forest, the world moved on. Villagers whispered stories of a monster in the woods, a shadow that haunted hunters and travelers. Parents warned their children to stay away from the old castle, saying it was cursed, that something terrible lived there. The prince, now known only as the Beast, listened from afar, his heart shrinking with each fearful tale. He told himself he deserved their hatred, yet the loneliness gnawed at him more painfully than the curse itself. The rose continued to bloom in its glass dome, each falling petal a reminder of time slipping away. Then, one autumn morning, a man stumbled through the forest, lost and exhausted. He was a merchant, once prosperous, now ruined by misfortune. Seeking shelter from the cold, he found the castle gates open, as if inviting him in. Inside, he marveled at the strange, living objects that welcomed him with forced cheer, desperate for any sign of human presence. When he saw the rose blooming in the garden, he thought of his youngest daughter, Belle, who loved books and flowers more than jewels. He reached out to pluck the rose, unaware of its power. The beast appeared in a fury, roaring accusations and threats. The merchant fell to his knees, begging forgiveness, explaining that the rose was meant as a gift for his daughter. Something in the beast's heart stirred at the mention of a daughter, of love given freely. Still, anger ruled him, and he condemned the merchant to imprisonment. Yet guilt crept in, and the beast offered a bargain. The merchant could go free if one of his daughters came to take his place. The merchant agreed, knowing Belle would never allow her father to suffer alone. When Belle arrived at the castle, fear tightened her chest, but love for her father drove her forward. She offered herself without hesitation, asking only that her father be released. The beast, unaccustomed to such selflessness, was shaken. He agreed and watched silently as the merchant departed, leaving Belle behind in the vast, haunted halls. Unlike others, Belle did not scream or faint at the sight of the beast. She looked at him with wide, frightened eyes, but also with curiosity, as if she sensed something broken beneath the fur and fangs. Days turned into weeks, and an uneasy routine formed. Belle explored the castle, finding solace in its endless library, where books lined the walls like old friends waiting to be rediscovered. The beast watched her from a distance, torn between longing for her presence and shame at his appearance. He struggled to control his temper, often roaring when frustrated, only to retreat in regret. Belle, though frightened at times, noticed his efforts and the sadness that followed his outbursts. Slowly, conversations replaced silence, and shared meals replaced solitude. The servants, hopeful for the first time in years, encouraged their master to open his heart. They dressed him for dinner, coached him on manners long forgotten, and celebrated every small step toward kindness. Belle saw these changes and realized the monster before her was not evil, but wounded. She learned of the curse, not through dramatic confession, but through quiet sorrow, through the way he avoided the rose and flinched at his own reflection. Compassion grew where fear once lived, and the beast found himself caring for Belle's happiness more than his own. One night, Belle gazed into the enchanted mirror and saw her father collapsed from grief, calling her name. Her heart broke, and she begged the beast to let her go to him. The beast hesitated, knowing that releasing her might doom him forever. Yet love, fragile and new, overcame selfish fear. He gave her the mirror and set her free, asking nothing in return. As Belle disappeared into the forest, the beast felt a hollow emptiness deeper than any he had known, certain he would never see her again. Back in the village, Belle reunited with her father, nursing him back to health, but peace was short-lived. The villagers, led by a hunter, hungry for glory and resentful of Belle's independence, stirred into a frenzy upon hearing of the beast. They marched toward the castle with torches and weapons, determined to destroy the monster they believed threatened them. Belle tried to stop them, insisting the beast was kind, but fear drowned out her words. At the castle, the beast awaited his fate, unwilling to fight. He believed Belle's departure was proof that no one could truly love him. When the mob arrived, chaos erupted. The servants fought desperately to protect their home, and in the confusion, the beast faced the hunter atop the castle's highest tower. The hunter mocked him, calling him a beast unworthy of love, and wounded him cruelly. As the beast lay bleeding, the last petals of the rose trembled. Belle arrived just in time, crying out his name. Seeing her, the beast found the strength to rise, but the hunter struck again, only to lose his footing and fall into the darkness below. The beast collapsed, the final petal falling from the rose as Belle held him, tears streaming down her face. She confessed her love, not for a prince or a monster, but for the soul she had come to know. The air filled with light as the curse shattered, magic surging through the castle like dawn breaking after a long night. The beast's form shifted, fur receding, claws softening into hands, his face transforming into that of a man marked not by beauty alone, but by humility and experience. The servants returned to their human forms, laughter and tears mingling as the castle came alive once more. The prince awoke, not as he had been, but as someone changed forever. He knelt before Belle, gratitude and love shining in his eyes, knowing that her compassion had saved not only him, but everyone bound by his past cruelty. In the years that followed, the prince ruled with kindness, never forgetting the darkness that once lived in his heart. The castle became a place of welcome rather than fear, its gates open to all. The rose was planted in the garden, no longer enchanted, a simple reminder of a lesson learned, too late but not lost. And in quiet moments, when the wind whispered through the trees, the prince would remember the night his secret was revealed, and how love, patient and brave, had broken a curse born of pride.